A medieval stone castle looks impossible to burn. That is the trick. From the outside, it looks cold, heavy, and safe. Stone walls, high towers, iron doors. A place built to survive armies. But fire does not need to burn the whole castle. It only needs to get inside. And once it gets inside, the stone can become part of the trap. Inside those stone walls were dry beams, rush-covered floors, wax candles, hanging cloth, straw bedding, wooden stairs, smoke-blackened rafters, oil, tallow, and people sleeping in rooms they could barely escape from in the dark. That is the part fantasy leaves out. The castle could be strong against an enemy outside the gate, and still be terrifyingly weak against a spark in the wrong room. So tonight, follow one winter evening inside a medieval castle. No dragon. No siege. No army at the wall. Just one small mistake after dinner. One ember that should have been dead. One room that has too much fuel. And a building designed for defense, not escape. By the end, the safest looking place on the hill will feel like a maze with smoke in its lungs. Start with a normal evening. The Lord has eaten. The great hall is cooling down. Servants clear trenches from the tables. Dogs nose around for scrap. Ash still glows in the hearth. Nothing looks like a disaster yet. That is what makes this dangerous. The castle feels finished with the day. The fire is not. In the kitchen, pots are being shifted off the flame. Someone is scraping grease from a pan. Someone else is dragging baskets, sacks, and kindling back towards storage. Upstairs, chamber servants carry candles through narrow passages. A bed is being warmed. A door is being closed. A child is already asleep. Everywhere you look, there is a small flame doing ordinary work. That is the first thing to understand. Medieval castles were full of controlled fire. Cooking fires, heating fires, chapel candles, oil lamps, torches in passages. Braziers moved from one cold room to another. People did not live around one sealed modern heater. They lived around dozens of open flames, and every flame depended on tired humans doing the right. And the inside was not a clean stone movie set. A real lived-in castle had tapestries to block drafts, wooden screens to divide rooms, benches, tables, chests, rope, shutters, wool clothing, bed curtains, and rushes or reeds underfoot. Those things made life a little warmer. They also made the castle easier to burn from the inside. Comfort was fuel. That is the trade nobody wants to imagine. So where does the fire begin? Usually not with a dramatic explosion. It begins in a dumb, ordinary way. A coal kicked from a hearth. A candle too close to cloth. A kitchen spark in dry straw. A lamp carried through storage. The kind of mistake that feels too small to remember until it becomes the only thing anyone remembers. For this night, start in the service range. A kitchen boy drags out a basket of ash too early. He thinks the embers are dead. They are not. One dull orange core falls into swept rushes near a wooden partition wall. Nearby are sacks, cloth, and kindling for the morning. No one notices. Not because they are stupid, because they are exhausted. The kitchen is loud. The work is half done. Someone is angry about a missing knife. Someone is carrying water. Someone is trying to get warm before sleeping. The ember does what embers do. It waits. It eats a little air. It creeps under dry material. It finds an edge of cloth. For a while, the most dangerous thing in the castle is smaller than a coin. This is how a real fire wins. It starts small enough to dismiss. Then it becomes big enough to hide in smoke. Then the first person who sees it is already behind the. By the time someone shouts, this is no longer a kitchen accident. It is a building problem, and the building is about to help it. Now kill the biggest myth. Stone does not mean fireproof. Stone is the shell. The life of the castle sits inside that shell, and much of that life is wood. Floors, roofs, galleries, ladders, doors, lofts, shutters, storage racks, furniture. If the fire reaches the roof structure or the upper floors, the walls do not rescue you. They hold the heat near you. There is another problem. Smoke arrives before flame, and smoke is quiet at first. It climbs, it pulls, it slides under ceilings and down stairwells. It turns familiar rooms into places where your eyes stop working. You may not know where the fire is, you only know the air has changed. That is a terrible way to wake up. People today expect alarms, emergency lighting, floor plans, exit signs, and firefighters with pumps. People inside this castle have shouting, bells, instinct, and darkness. That matters. In a fire, information is survival. If the warning arrives late, every choice after that gets worse. And in a castle, warnings do not travel evenly. They travel through doors, servants, stairs, fear, and confusion. Then comes the vertical danger. Heat rises. Smoke rises. Upper rooms can become deadly even if the fire starts lower down. A family sleeping above the hall may wake to coughing before they see a single flame. A servant in a tower chamber may open the door and find the stair below already black. Going down is the only way out. And down is where the smoke is waiting. The cruel part is this: castles were built to control movement. That is useful in a siege. It is awful in a fire. Narrow stairs, heavy doors, blind corners, guarded thresholds, private rooms behind other rooms. Storage blocking side routes. The castle is trying to slow invaders. Now it slows everyone, including the people trying to get out. Back in the service range, the partition catches. A hanging cloth goes next, then stored wood. Then the draft does the rest. Someone opens a door to see what is happening. That feels sensible. It is also the moment the fire gets a breath. Fresh air rushes in, and the small room suddenly becomes brighter, hotter, faster. The door was not the solution. It was a gift. Now people think they are fighting one room. They are not. They are losing a section. A ceiling beam is warming. Smoke is finding the stair. Sparks are moving overhead where nobody can reach them. This is the part of a fire that fools people. The visible flames are only the front edge. The real danger is already traveling where nobody is looking. Buckets appear. That sounds comforting, until you picture what a bucket line means inside a castle at night. You need water, containers, bodies, a clear path, discipline. You need all of that while people are coughing, slipping, and shouting over each other. If the nearest water is a courtyard, well, in winter darkness, the response is already too slow. A bucket line can feel brave and still be useless. The Great Hall hears the alarm next. People wake in pieces. Someone grabs a chest instead of a child. Someone opens the wrong door and feeds the draft. Someone runs back for a purse, a relic, a cloak, a ledger. That sounds foolish from far away. Up close, it is human. Disaster does not make people wise. It makes them fast, scared, and wrong. Now the fire reaches the circulation points. A stair landing burns. A corridor fills. A wooden gallery overhead drops sparks on the people below. One route to the yard is gone. Another is jammed with bodies. The castle has not collapsed. That is the frightening part. It is still standing, still solid, still impressive, while the inside becomes harder to survive by the minute. This is where rank stops helping as much as people imagine. Yes, nobles may have better rooms, but better rooms can mean more curtains, more furniture, more privacy, and more separation. A lord in an inner chamber may be farther from the first flames. He may also be farther from fast information and open air. Luxury becomes delay. Delay becomes danger. Servants know the back ways best. That should help. But they are also the people sent toward the fire, not away from it. Wake the household. Move the stores. Save the records. Save the silver. Save bread. Save the chapel chest. The people most able to navigate the maze are ordered deeper into it. That is not bravery in a painting. That is how people disappear. And then comes the worst sound in a castle fire. Not shouting, not even the crack of timber. The worst sound is when the building changes shape. A beam shifts, a stair gives, a ceiling starts raining sparks and dust. That sound tells everyone the castle is no longer a shelter. It is an engine coming apart around them. Some people escape into the yard half-dressed, barefoot in mud or snow. Some reach a wall walk and find no safe way down. Some survive the flames and collapse from smoke in the cold air outside. Some are still inside when the roof begins to fail. For them, the stone walls never moved. That is exactly the problem. The prison stayed strong. Morning makes the lie visible. From a distance, the castle is still there. The towers remain. The gate remains. The walls remain. A traveler on the road might think the place survived. Then you step inside. Rooms are black shells. Stores are ruined. Roof timbers are bedding, records, clothing, food, all turned into wet ash. The castle survived as architecture. The household did not. That is why fire terrified medieval households, not because they were ignorant, because they understood the line was thin. One ordinary mistake could erase comfort, status, shelter, supplies, and memory in a single night. In a siege, the enemy is outside. In a castle fire, the enemy is inside the walls with you. It is in the cloth, the timber, the air, and the stairs. So were medieval castles fireproof? Not remotely. They were stone shells filled with fuel, dark mazes with vertical choke points, smoke traps dressed up as strongholds. When flame got loose inside them, the danger did not disappear because the walls were it changed shape. It became slower, darker, and harder to escape. That is the image to keep in your head, not the postcard castle on a hill. A crowded stone machine at night, full of cloth, timber, panic, and bad air, waiting for one tired person to make one small mistake. And once that mistake happens, the castle does not simply burn. It turns against the people inside it. If we come back to this world, there are more parts of castle life that look romantic from far away and brutal up close. Not the fantasy version, the real one.